Chris Hawkins, welcome to the Sonic Boom podcast. It's great to have you, and thank you for making a bit of time for us.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
And thank you for being involved since the beginning of Sonic Boom. Really grateful for all your help and all your support right since the start.
Yeah, it feels amazing to remain a part of something that I think is so special. When I first heard about the very idea of this festival in Burton, I was thinking to myself, I remember thinking, can this work? Yeah. Can it work? Does it exist anywhere else? Can it work? Will it work in Burton? And right from day one, Sonic Boom hit the ground running, and I feel so lucky to still be a part of it.
No, thank you, and yeah, long may it continue. Because you're incredibly busy at the minute. You've got obviously the daily show that you do on Six Music.
Yeah, my show is every day on Six Music, and I feel genuinely so privileged to do that show every day on what I believe is the world's greatest radio station. So that's every day, and at the moment into summer now, there's festivals most weekends, and then it kind of culminates in September with Sonic Boom. It's like the last big weekend of the summer, and I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be on that weekend.
Yeah, no, thank you for again, coming and getting involved and being a big part of it. And we have got the t-shirt gun ready and waiting for you. The mayor's got it locked away in the vault.
I mean, I don't know what happens this year, because it needs it to go up a level from a t-shirt gun is going to be tough.
And obviously you're working hard at the Peace Hall as well. I really do love that venue. I think it's an absolutely fantastic thing.
Yeah, I'm a patron of the Peace Hall in Halifax. It is a unique, incredible venue, and some of the biggest acts in the world have played there in recent years, and the season is now underway. It's been about 2 weeks now since this 2026 summer season started, with a sold-out show. Shed 7 were there for that, and it was you'd have loved it, Chris. It was.
Did they play Chasing Rainbows?
Of course, they always. I actually made the mistake. I was interviewing Rick Witter, the singer from Shed 7, and I just before their set, and I was asking him a bit about what they'd be playing, and I said, "Can you share what you might finish with tonight?" He's like, looked at me like, oh, I was an idiot. He's like, mate, he's always Chasing Rainbows.
Of course it is. And am I right in thinking, because I'm a big Pumpkins fan, that didn't the Smashing Pumpkins play there at some point? Have I made that up? I'm sure they did it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. That was an extraordinary show, and a great example of what I mean by world-beating acts playing at that venue in Halifax. So I'm amazed by the acts that I've seen on that stage, from Queens of the Stone Age to Sting, and so far this season, Shed 7 were amazing. Embrace played a hometown headline show there in Halifax. I've seen Garbage and Skunk Anansie being unbelievable. And tonight, as we record now, I'm going to be there with Amy McDonald and the Coral.
We got a monthly film screening at our local arts venue, the Brew House, and the Coral was one of the films that we screened there. And there's obviously a connection with us and Birkenhead through Future Yard and Craig there, and it was quite nice to sort of to see that story, to see the story of the Coral, and it's a fun little film, that.
Well, not only have I always loved the Coral, but James Skelly, who's their singer, is a Jedi of a producer, and
really,
he's produced some of the best pop music around it in the last 10 years. I mean, not least as one great example, Blossoms. Yeah, he's an incredible producer.
Interesting. There's obviously a bigger sort of journey that some people take.
Yeah, I mean, the Coral have just released a brilliant new album, but James, I would say he must, I'm sure, spend more time as an in-demand producer than he does in the band. And I don't think there are very few bands coming out of Liverpool that haven't at some point been in a studio with James Skelly.
Yeah. No, it makes huge sense. To dive into your journey a little bit, and you spoke about, BBC Six Music, and it's the greatest radio channel in the world. What kind of attracts you to that in the first place, and how did you connect with Six Music?
I was always obsessed with radio as a kid, from a very, very young age, fascinated by radio as a medium, fascinated by the ability any presenter had to talk to me one-on-one. I think that's the beauty of the medium, the one-on-one nature of radio. And so from, as I said, being a very, very young boy, I was fascinated by and obsessed with radio. As I got older and I got into music, I started buying records from a very young age, and then and did work experience as a teenager at my local BBC radio station, BBC Radio Shropshire. Went on to university in Nottingham and worked whilst I was there at BBC Radio Nottingham. And by my third year, I was doing the drive time show on Radio Nottingham. I had 3 or 4 amazing years in Nottingham, 3 obviously at university, whilst also working at Radio Nottingham. And then I stayed after finishing university at Radio Nottingham for a while after that.
And were your studies in radio, in broadcast?
No, I was at Nottingham University and I did American Studies. There were others that were at Radio Nottingham who were on there was, and I guess still is, a course at Nottingham Trent University that specialised in media. But I did American Studies. And I went to high school in America for a while, and then went back during my second year of university during that American Studies degree to a college in America. And then left a couple of my finals early to go and host the drive time show on Radio Nottingham. Left the exams early because I didn't tell any bosses at Radio Nottingham that I'd actually got exams. I didn't want anything to get in the way of me doing those shows. So after leaving Nottingham, reluctantly, because I think Nottingham is an incredible city, I go back and host nights quite regularly in Nottingham now, and I still adore that city. Yeah. I got a job on GLR, which was the BBC station for London, called GLR at the time, a station that I was desperate to work at because Chris Evans was there, Danny Baker was there, Chris Morris.
Legendary names.
The most extraordinary lineup: Mark Lamar, Phil Jupiter, Sean Hughes. It was an unbelievable lineup, and people that I respected and admired and was inspired by. So to actually get a gig there was something else. GLR came to an end as a radio station, and as Six Music was starting, and I was asked if I would like to do a show on BBC Six Music, this brand new digital radio station that the BBC were launching. And I have been at and on Six Music since its very first day.
And how long has it been running now?
BBC Six Music will next year, I think, be 25.
Wow. Incredible. And what an investment by the BBC in championing music, to have an entire radio station obviously dedicated to exploring music, uncovering new talent and showcasing what's around us. It's awesome.
That's very well put, Chris. Yeah, it's about exploring heritage acts, back catalogues, as much as it is championing new music. And I think as a radio station, I think we find that great balance brilliantly. And we have an amazing loyal listeners. Every show that I do is driven by listeners and their content that they provide. When it comes to music, when it comes to a sense of time and place, every single day, there's brilliant stuff that comes in from our audience.
And, there appears to be a sense of community around the listenership, and how that integrates with obviously consuming the radio, but also, as you say, getting involved. So, obviously you're out and about quite a lot and visible. How important is having the opportunity to build community?
It's vital in life, I think. Six Music is an alternative music station for music lovers. That's not about demographics. It's about people who love music from beyond the mainstream. And it's a huge, 3 million listeners. It may be at times niche in what we play, but 3 million is a lot of listeners to Six Music every week. But despite 3 million people, it's still definitely, you're absolutely right, Chris. It feels very much like a community, that there is that common denominator that everyone loves the music that we play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And boy, do you play a lot of music, and a lot of different music. I mean, you've been such a champion for so many people who feel like maybe, getting played on the radio might be slightly out of reach or elsewhere, and you've given a platform for a lot of artists over your time there.
Well, yes, because that's the job. What an amazing thing for me to be sent something in the morning and be able to play it on the show the next day. I get sent maybe 100 songs a week, maybe more sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I listen to as much of it as I can. And if it fits for the show, then I will play it on the show. I've played your band many, many times.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and not unnoticed, and massively grateful. That's very, very kind and gracious of you to say. But Chris, I am very lucky, and we at Six Music are very lucky to be able to play the music that we love. And there's a lot to choose from. So we only play stuff that we love. That's, I think, pretty unique when it comes to being in radio. Not many radio stations allow their presenters to choose the music. So I happen to love Riding the Low. It always gets a good reaction. Anytime I play anything by Riding the Low on the show, the listener love comes flooding in. And those songs, they sound big on the radio. They do. They really do. You've definitely got the big button press for when you play Riding the Low.
The big button. I love that.
You obviously love music. Was a kind of a spark as a child where kind of something arrived and you heard it and it was like, I absolutely love this, Yeah,
I don't think my story is any different to most kids. It started perhaps with what I was hearing on the radio, pop music, and what I was seeing on Top of the Pops. And as a teenager, started to, I suppose, acquire my own taste. So this is probably true for most people, that the palette's big as a kid. Mm-hmm. You are, or certainly were, when there was less choice on the radio, you would consume a lot of pop music, and then your taste becomes more and more refined. Certainly as a student, you sort of, I suppose, start to know your own mind more and more. And there's a term I really don't like. I don't like the term guilty pleasures, because I think it's that's like music snobbery. I'm really respectful of whatever music people like. My sister is a huge Take That fan. I'm not a big Take That fan, but I completely respect that they have made some of the biggest pop songs in British music history. I happen to like more alternative music, and that's been my journey, I suppose, as a radio host, playing, as I said earlier, music from beyond the mainstream on a day-to-day basis, and then living in a world where I get asked to DJ. And the other night, it was such a moment. I got asked to support Sparks in Blackpool at the Opera House in Blackpool, and it felt like a real peak moment for me in my career, and it felt like there's a band that I have always known. They have always been there. They existed before I was even born, and they've always been there, and they're incredibly inspirational as a band, incredibly influential. They're cited often by so many other artists through the years, and even now, more than 50 years since they started out. And I get asked to do a 40-minute DJ set before them. So to have been on that stage immediately before Sparks came on and played a fantastic show at Blackpool Opera House, it felt like such a big moment for me.
And those DJ performances are something that obviously you do a lot, as well as your work as a sort of radio DJ as well. And there's of course the podcast which explores the craft, artistry, and practice of DJ that you do as well. And what kind of led you to want to explore that?
I thought long and hard and got offered lots of different podcasts, and I resisted doing anything for a long time. I'm genuinely fascinated by the art of DJing, both with radio DJs and club DJs. So in the end, this felt like the most obvious podcast to do. And I'm humbled by how well that podcast has done, not because I need to chase numbers with it. It does do big numbers, but that's not what I'm doing the podcast for. It's because I'm genuinely interested in the thought processes and minds of both radio and club DJs. What I've always done, I've never had any other job outside of being a radio DJ. I DJ out a bit, more and more actually, and really enjoy it. We have some brilliant nights, certainly at festivals. Often DJ immediately after the headline act. Next time, I think it's going to come around quickly, we'll be at Kendal Calling. Just imagine, Kendal Calling, they're in Cumbria. Cortina's headlining, absolutely huge, 30,000 people with Cortinas playing in the north of England, where they are absolutely adored. They come off stage and I get to DJ in the big top immediately afterwards. I mean, people are already in an exuberant, let me call it, mood, and it just goes off. It's so much fun. So I've got a lot of that this summer. So with the podcast, it's about getting inside the mind of, as well as radio DJs, the club DJs who've spent their whole careers making people dance, giving people a good time, letting people escape from their real worlds, their reality, and just lose themselves, making people dance.
Incredible. And have you found that spending time with those practitioners and enjoying their company and figuring out what they're all about, have you found that inspirational in your own practice?
Yes, for sure. It's interesting, definitely, hearing how other radio DJs prepare. I don't think I've ever walked into a radio studio without having done a substantial amount of prep. I do at least an hour for every hour I'm on the radio, at least. In fact, in the week for the daily show, I spend most of the preceding day putting that show together, working with my producer on the music that we're going to play, when we're going to play it, how we're going to make it flow best, and then coming up with ideas that can go into the show on any given day. And that's pretty much all through every day. And it's interesting here how other people prepare, but I suppose the one thing I've learnt from both radio and club DJs is that a lot is in the prep. It really is. Yeah. I think there are no shortcuts. There really are not. You've got to put the time in. Why wouldn't you, and why shouldn't you?
It makes sense. And thinking about from being in a band and that kind of perspective, and the amount of hours spent, crafting songs in the rehearsal room, working them up in the studio, of course, making records, and maybe there's a kind of a false understanding that as soon as you walk out on the stage, suddenly you're winging it, and the magic happens. And there might be sometimes a little bit of that, but actually everything goes back to there's an incredible amount of work done behind the scenes with any level of artistry. To get it to a point where there's something that's confronting you on a stage or in a club that creates something, creates a mood, an atmosphere, gets you dancing, gets you feeling something. That's
so articulately put, Chris. Absolutely, there are direct comparisons with being a musician and what I'm talking about. It's rare, I would say, that you'll find anyone that doesn't need to prepare in some way. Certainly for the radio, but you talk to any club DJ and more than ever, perhaps with technology, the way that it is.
And there's a lot of what you're talking about, which is about relationships. You mentioned, the working with your producer for your show. You're talking about the interfacing with an audience, for example, or working with the people at Peace Hall or anywhere where you're at Kendal or whatever. And that there's a lot there where I'm hearing it takes a long time to build relationships with people for that to happen. We're 3 years into Sonic Boom this September. And we're doing a podcast together. You've very kindly played some of the music that I've been involved in the past on your show, and I think there's a part of the music industry which is very much based around the importance of building relationships and connections with people.
Yeah, for sure. It's the music industry is a big unwieldy beast, and I think for anyone that attends Sonic Boom, if they had even like a glimpse at what you will have been doing for a year, more than a year, to make Sonic Boom 2026 happen, I think they'd be very surprised. It's not just booking bands is perhaps that's the easiest part for you. There is so much back end. I'm lucky I get asked to go and jump on those stages. But I do know that a huge amount of work goes into making that happen.
And what's coming up sort of, as well as Sonic Boom this year that you're really excited about? We've obviously mentioned Kendal and Peace Hall. What else are you up to?
So I think I'm doing more festivals this year than I've ever done. That's a combination of hosting stages and DJing. My first one was a brilliant festival called Rockaway Beach right back at the beginning of the year. That's on the first weekend of the new year every year. So festival season for me, for the last 2 or 3 years that I've been doing that festival, starts on the very first weekend of the year. Local to Sonic Boom, I had the best time this year at Bearded Theory.
Yeah, it was great. We were ships in the night there. I think you were there one day, I was there the next day.
I had the best time. I loved every second of it. I got to do some awesome stuff. The lineup this year was off the chart. The atmosphere is so good there, and the weather this year. Festivals can be made or broken by the weather, and Bearded has got lucky. For not every year. I was there in the year where it was torrential rain and flooding, but the last couple of years the weather's been great, and this year it was fantastic. So I love Bearded Theory. I've got, I think, 15 festivals in 2026. And beyond that, I'll, in the autumn, continue my Q&A sides evening, which is a night of conversation and acoustic performance with various artists. Bad the Drawn Boy is someone I love, and I'm currently on a run of shows with that pick up again soon. And there'll be more artists to announce for that once we get to the end of the summer and into the autumn. I think you're reading me right that I love exploring the minds of people that I admire so much and getting a chance to get in depth with them about how they craft works.
Yeah, good band name that. No, absolutely brilliant. And, long may it continue. And, the huge amount of varied work that you do around the place and the great work that you do for music.
Chris, that's very, very kind of you to say, and I'll take it. But you know what? It's me that's grateful for the opportunities that I'm given. Genuinely, I don't take anything for granted. To be asked back for year 3 of Sonic Boom, I don't think you even know. I mean, you when you asked me, you're always so courteous, and even though we've known each other for many years through the band, you have a different sort of hat on now as boss of Sonic Boom, and I certainly didn't know until we absolutely confirmed it that I would be coming back. And I think anyone that's met me at that festival, anyone that's seen me on the stage in the square, knows that I absolutely love it, because I think it's first of all, I think the concept is brilliant. I also feel very strongly about bringing the biggest names, great live music, to towns outside of the UK's big cities. I live in Manchester. I am spoilt for choice. Manchester has never been so good. I love it. I love going out in Manchester. I love gigging in Manchester. I love working in Manchester. But I think it's really important. You've talked about the Peace Hall in Halifax. Wow, this is a population 90,000. Halifax population 90,000, and this summer 42 incredible acts will play that, and equally Sonic Boom. To get Pale Waves to play Sonic Boom is no small achievement. In fact, it's a massive achievement, Chris. And to be a tiny part of that machine for me is awesome. I am absolutely, genuinely, I hope you can hear. Like I say, it's a brilliant concept. I mean, I'm not really aware. There are town festivals where music takes over for a day or a weekend. But it's this whole idea of the main stage all day and then the scattering through the evening across the town. I just think it was a brilliant idea that has been executed to absolute perfection. And the lineup this year, I mean, it is unbeatable. It is a brilliant lineup, and I can't wait. I get to spend time with you and the crew. I think it's important that it's not just about the bands that come into Burton on that one day in September. The crews are local. There are volunteers who don't work in the music industry for the most part, but get to spend a day doing something they would never have ordinarily had the opportunity to do. So the effects of Sonic Boom, I think, they're very layered. So yes, it is about a great day of entertainment, about getting to see a huge band, but it's about the atmosphere. It's about what it brings to the town. It's about what it brings to other venues, to the local pubs, to cafes, to restaurants, stall holders. Young people in Burton that have an interest in music, maybe considering a career in music. It's about giving them the opportunity to see a professional setup and how it all works. It's doing something really vital in Burton upon Trent.
And thank you for seeing it. And you see all of it. And every year we've done it. You have made a lot of time to speak to those young people that are taking part in our turbo program, that are exploring lighting, sound, photography, researching bands, looking at how the festival works behind the scenes. And every time, you've given them probably a good half hour, speaking to them and answering their questions and couldn't ask for more. Thank you.
Chris, I talk to them all day. You always drag them off after half an hour. Equally, I saw a band called 88 Miles play in the first year I was at Sonic Boom. I know now that they're from Burton, and I've subsequently played them on the radio as a direct result of seeing them perform at Sonic Boom. So perhaps that feeds into what you said about relationships, and building those relationships. And the T-shirt gun.
I spotted that in the small print. No T-shirt gun, you're not coming.
I mean, for what it's worth, this perhaps is not fair to put you on the spot here. And now perhaps it should be a private conversation. But what the hell? I feel like in many respects, this is still the beginning. I talk about this festival to so many people, about the concept, about the way that it works, about the love that there is for it. I still think there's so much more that can be done all year round. I think even on the day, there's still plenty to do, and that there's more that can be done around the day itself.
Yeah, and that will come, and you are right in your illusion and assumption there. In that something we're exploring is how do we take an incredible grassroots music festival that celebrates that champions that on a stage and that invites huge bands to town to come and play and to experience for our audience to experience that together, and how do we do that more than once a year, and that's something we're really exploring.
I think it's an interesting point that the artists themselves, probably in most cases, in my experience of the acts that have played so far, the majority had never been to Burton before. So that's worthy of note too, that obviously they talk to one another, and it just elevates Burton's name as a music town.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting that I think you're the first person on record saying Burton is a music town. And I think that's what we're aiming for. So,
you know, it's obviously it's a beer town, brilliantly, but football clubs can be what most people from outside of that town or city are the reason why people around the world, people know. When I say I'm from Manchester, whenever I'm out the country, say in the States, for example, I say I'm from Manchester. Oh, United or City. Football clubs are why towns and cities get mentioned most. Yeah. And so Burton can now be added to that when it comes to music, you know. The Co-op Live in Manchester, as an easy example for me, has been a huge success. And it's synonymous with where it is in Manchester. The name Burton is there because there are artists, acts, bands playing in Burton, and it just gets Burton's name out there.
Yeah, that's what we're all trying to do. There's a load of us working on it. There's across East Staffordshire Borough Council, across Sonic Boom as an organisation, and within our local community, and that's what we're all working towards together. And can't thank you enough for seeing it, and for recognising what it is we're trying to do, and once again investing your energies in supporting us as you already have in so many different ways.
I think, Chris, in conclusion, what I feel like I would love to achieve with you is people saying, I saw a great live act in Burton, not I saw a great live act in Burton. Let's change the inflection.
Yeah. And there is the title of the podcast episode right there and then. Nailed it. Let's change the inflection. Spot on. Thanks so much, Chris. And, good luck with the rest of the day, the rest of your week, and until I see you again.
Yeah. And I'll see you very soon.